Hey everybody, welcome back to another Jackson Jet Setting Cruise video. Today I want to talk to those thinking about sailing on their first cruise ever. You've seen the ads on TV and online and the vacation looks amazing, but maybe you've started to research and the whole experience seems a little daunting. Now I've sailed on over 30 cruises over the years, so I consider myself quite an expert at this point. My goal in this video is to give you as many tips and tricks as possible I can for booking that first cruise, and once you are booked, what to know before stepping on board. By the end of the video, you'll feel more comfortable with cruising and know exactly what to do once you set sail. If you want more tips and tricks for cruising, please subscribe to the channel, as we have lots of cruise content already up for future trip research. My first tip comes for when you book your cruise. Cruises are a bit unusual in that they publish their schedules a year in advance of sailing. This is way different than airlines or hotels. If you want to score the best deal, book early. The best tip about this is that as long as you are before your final payment and you haven't made your final payment, you can reprice your cruise if cost drops after booking. All that's required is a deposit, which sometimes is waived under special promotions. Once you do make that final payment, though, it's going to be required about 90 to 120 days out from your sailing date. You are locked in at that price. Cruise lines also offer special promotions like free drink packages, excursions, or onboard credit for booking early. Check with your travel agent or the cruise website for more details. As a quick plug, I am a travel advisor and can help you with your next cruise personally. Reach out to Mark Jackson at jacksonjetsetting.com to receive a free quote. Booking early can also allow you to pick the exact cabin that you'd like to sail in. Cruises are different than many hotels because you are actually able to select that exact cabin number rather than be assigned one on check-in. Sailors can save more money on their cruise by booking guaranteed cabins, which guarantee you the cabin in the category that you select, like a balcony cabin, but not exactly the exact room. In my experience, rooms that have less desirable locations, like obstructed views, are more likely to be assigned when booking guaranteed rooms, so just so you know, you are going to save some money, but you may not get a perfect view. There are several types of cabin types available on every cruise ship. The cheapest will always be interior staterooms, which do not have a view to the outside of the ship. Really, only the luxury cruises don't have inside cabins sometimes, but most ships are going to have this category. These are often windowless, though some ships like Royal Caribbean's Voyager, Freedom, and Oasis classes have interior staterooms with views to interior areas like the Royal Promenade. And some lines like Royal Caribbean and Disney Cruise Lines have virtual balconies in those inside cabins. And those are basically screens that act like windows to the outside world with a live feed outside the ship to make you feel less, interior. Ocean view cabins are simply that, cabins with a porthole or larger window that look out to the ocean. Some are partially obstructed by lifeboats, but that will be noted when you are booking. You can even get panoramic ocean view staterooms on some ships, like my time on Independence of the Seas. I really loved that cabin. The most popular stateroom on any cruise ship is going to be the balcony staterooms. These have a small outdoor area, typically with chairs or tables or both. Even some ships, like Virgin, have hammocks on their balconies. So this is a great way to have access to that ocean air and have some privacy as well, though not really too private as your neighbors are always going to be right next to you. Though, to caution you, some ships do have balconies that face inward into the ship's central park or boardwalk area, like the Oasis and Icon class ships for Royal Caribbean. Many of the newer ships have designed themselves to have as many balconies as possible, as those are the easiest to sell for the cruise line. Newer ships from Celebrity and Royal Caribbean have infinite balconies that extend the interior space to the edge of the ship, with the top half of your window opening up at your choosing so that you do have that balcony experience. These have been pretty divisive as the air conditioning shuts off when you open that balcony window, so these are probably better for those cold water Alaska sailings rather than a Caribbean cruise. Finally, suites across the different ships run from smaller junior suites with some extra perks like embarkation, early, to multi-story behemoths with slides and more perks than any of the other cabins on the ship. Some come with private hot tubs, some with included drink packages, a royal genie in the case of Royal Caribbean, which is basically your personal butler. It really runs the spectrum, so it's good to have a travel advisor help you work through all of the different options for your cruise. Before you cruise, pre-planning goes a long way to save you time and money once you're on board. Selecting your embarkation time is very important, as many ships require every passenger to arrive at a pre-designated time on embarkation day to make the boarding process more seamless. It really helps everyone out. I try to get the earliest time possible, and I found that 10:30 to 11 a.m. is typically the earliest I can select on most cruise lines so that I make it the most of my embarkation day. The vacation starts once you board, after all, so this allows you to make those restaurant recommendations once you get on board, activity selections, and enjoy all the ship amenities before the rest of the ship. Many cruise lines also offer like an early boarding perk for some extra money, so if you don't want to go through the process of having to select that time, you can just pay for that option. For many of the larger ships, you can make entertainment reservations before your cruise. This is especially true for Oasis and Icon class Royal Caribbean ships, as there are a lot of entertainment options on board, from theater shows, water shows, ice skating spectaculars, comedy shows. So all that can be booked in advance on most of those cruises on those types of ships. Other ships like the Disney Cruise Line have 2 main seatings for dinner and 2 shows each evening, and so one group is going to be eating dinner while the other one is seeing the show, and then they switch. That's a much more easy process in my opinion, but Royal Caribbean does have a lot of different entertainment options each evening, so you do have a lot more variety. You can also make shore excursion bookings before you set sail, which I do highly recommend. Many lines offer discounts for booking early, and booking as early as possible ensures that you can book the exact excursion that you want, as many times the popular ones do sell out. Booking a suite sometimes can help you book these things before they sell out as well, like concierge class on Disney Cruise Line, which gets first crack at the cabanas on Disney's private islands. For boarding, you'll need either a passport or an ID and birth certificate to sail on a round-trip cruise from a U.S. port. I recommend everyone set sail with a passport, as it's quicker to get on and off the ship, and it's much easier to travel with if something happens while you are abroad. When it comes time to depart for your trip, I highly recommend arriving into your port city the night before your cruise if you're flying in. Travel delays happen often, and you don't want to miss your cruise. If you're driving in, many hotels in the port cities offer drive-in specials that include parking and a shuttle to and from the ship. This may be cheaper than parking directly at the port for your entire voyage, and you can arrive and start your vacation a little bit earlier. When it comes for luggage, you'll drop any of your larger bags off of the porters at the port when you arrive. Remember to tip those guys. Smaller carry-ons can be rolled aboard with you, but know you're likely carting this around until your stateroom is ready. I do like to bring a backpack with me with a swimsuit so I can enjoy the pools and the water slides on embarkation day before the rest of the crowd arrives. Royal Caribbean offers the Key, which is an early boarding program amongst other perks, and one such perk is actually being able to drop off your carry-on luggage in the main dining room with them, and they will deliver it to your stateroom, so this is a nice perk. You'll want to keep any alcohol that you're allowed to bring on board. Some lines don't allow this, like MSC, but you want that in your carry-on, not in your checked luggage. You want to avoid items that aren't allowed by your cruise line, like things with a heating element, which can be confiscated and delivered back to you at the end of your cruise. Check with your line's prohibited items list before you set sail for more details. I recommend packing for the vacation you want to have. Many sailings offer 1 or 2 formal nights that people dress up for. It's not required in this day and age, but it was back in the day. Many seasoned cruisers get pretty upset at folks not dressing up for formal nights on more casual cruise lines nowadays, but just know that the dress codes have been relaxed quite a bit and it's not a requirement of cruising anymore. There are many parties on board as well. They have a theme like 80s night, Caribbean night, and white parties, so you'll want to consult your cruise line before boarding to make sure you have the right attire if you want to participate in those. Virgin Voyages, for example, has a Scarlet Night, which would require something red to wear. And Disney offers a Pirate Night, so it's fun to dress up for that too. Before you board, you'll link a credit card or a debit card to your onboard account so you can make changes on the ship. You can always switch this card at guest services, but know that guest services has a very long line most of the time on every ship that I've ever been on. You can go at off times, it's open 24 hours on most ships, and you can avoid the rush there. By linking your card, your key card acts as your form of payment around the ship. Wearable devices given to you by certain lines like Disney, Princess, and Virgin act in the same way, and they'll be able to unlock your stateroom door and get you on and off the ship as well. Now, using a credit card that earns points for travel can be a way to get to that next cruise a little bit faster, so I do recommend picking the right card. For me, I use my Ink business card from Chase on all my cruises because I earn 3 points per dollar on every purchase, and basically that folio at the end of the cruise tallies up all the fun that you had on board, and it's just one easy payment on your card. If you would prefer to pay in cash, most ships have that option as well. You just have to go to guest services or one of the kiosks on Carnival ships, for example, to be able to do that. Most lines do not give you your key card until you actually board the ship and find the location of your stateroom, which can be a little bit surprising to new cruisers. Most people would think that you would get your key cards once you check in, but that's not so on most cruise lines. So make sure you're at the right stateroom before you open your key card booklet. Tipping on board can be a confusing topic for many as well. There's no need to carry cash for anything on board, except for the casino, but even there you can charge your shipboard account for that. There are daily gratuities that are charged to your shipboard account, and that goes to the cabin steward, the dining staff, and a few other people. It's a fairly low price per person, but it is something that maybe surprises people. For any purchases on board like food or alcohol, typically an automatic gratuity is charged to the bill, so there's no need to tip extra, though crew do appreciate extra tips, of course. Virgin Cruises actually includes all of their tips in their prices, so that's really nice. It's just nice to have one price on the menu and know what you're paying. The crew work really hard, so I've never minded the tipping on board, and a little extra cash at the end of the cruise to my cabin steward for the excellent service, or maybe my wait staff if I'm going to the main dining room a whole bunch. They really hustle throughout the cruise to make it awesome. So definitely, if you're thinking of under tipping or over tipping, definitely go for the over tip. Another big topic are drink packages. There are several different types of drink packages available to guests. There's some sort of non-alcoholic package, usually like one just for sodas for maybe the kids or people that love sodas, or a more comprehensive non-alcoholic package including bottled waters and specialty coffees and like fruit juices and that sort of thing. Alcoholic packages are sometimes tiered as well, with better alcohol available to those who pay for a higher package. Most packages come with a dollar amount for ordered drinks that are included. For example, Royal Caribbean offers drink package holders free drinks for any drink $14 or under. Anything above that amount, you're charged the difference. So if it's $16, you're really just charged $2 plus the little difference for tip, I believe. Some lines like Carnival limit the number of alcoholic drinks that you can have each day. This is to limit rowdiness on board. My advice is to look at the pricing for the drink packages and think hard about if it's worth it or not. Many people love paying one price up front and maximizing its value. Others like the lack of stress about the bill at the end of the cruise. I totally get that. But for most cruisers, I think the drink package is probably not worth it in the long run, especially on longer cruises, as most people get too excited in the first few days on board and slow down their drinking later in the cruise. Now, you do have non-alcoholic drinks included as part of that alcoholic package, so if you're someone who drinks a lot of Red Bulls or specialty coffees, that could probably add up and make things worthwhile, but just do the math. Food on board is a huge topic of discussion. Many food options are available on your cruise that are included in your fare that you've already paid. This is most items in the main dining rooms, the buffets, and select venues throughout the ship. In the main dining room, you can order often multiple items of each if you'd like, which many people don't know about. Just talk to your server, and their aim is to make sure that you have an amazing experience. Most ships offer a few upcharged dining venues, usually called specialty restaurants. These restaurants have a nominal fee, typically $40 to $60 up front to dine. Some are a la carte, but they're going to be much more upscale than the dining options that are included on board. Sometimes they're a themed experience like the new Royal Railway on Utopia of the Seas. Other times there's a traditional steakhouse. Every ship is really different, so review your options before you cruise. I've opted for the unlimited dining package on Royal Caribbean before, and it's been excellent value to me as well. I received specialty dining dinners, lunch in those restaurants on sea days, $20 of credit to use at the a la carte restaurants, and it even included 40% off bottles of wine for under $100, which was a great perk to me. If you're sticking with the included dining, know that the buffet is going to be very busy at peak meal times. Often a ship will offer breakfast or lunch at other locations that people don't know about that's still included, and the menu is often pretty similar. I've liked dining for free at Johnny Rockets on Oasis class ships, for example, which is typically an upcharge restaurant for lunch and dinner, but it's free for breakfast, and so that's Oasis class ships on Royal Caribbean. Internet has become vastly better on board in the last 5 years, mostly because cruise lines have adopted Starlink on board. Packages are not cheap by any means, but a reasonable price for the fast connectivity that is on board now. Many people are working at sea. You can do video conferencing. So gone are the days of per megabyte charges or by the minute internet. Instead, you buy a per day price, typically $15 to $25 per device, but prices really vary ship to ship and line to line. If you've downloaded the ship's app, and I do highly recommend that, that's going to be free to use on board, and you can connect to the internet and use any connectivity there for free. And this is key as it enables you to check activities, message others on the ship. You can book dining and lots more. It really depends on the ship, but definitely want to connect to the internet and put your phone in airplane mode there, because there are some ways that you can get charged on your cell phone by keeping on your cell service and connecting to the ship's tower, and you're going to be in for a nasty surprise there. So keep your phone on airplane mode once you get on board. Cruising can be a lot about the ship, but many sail for the destination as well. Cruises are sailing varied itineraries around the world, but know that itineraries can change before you sail. Sometimes it's due to unrest, like Haiti, which features one of my favorite ports, Labadee, but they've had to cancel due to the country's dire situation there. Other times it's due to weather, like a hurricane. And then the ship may not have full engine capacity to make it to farther destinations on your voyage. Unfortunately, your cruise contract allows for these changes to be made, and many times the line will try and make it right with an onboard credit, but they are not required to offer compensation for these itinerary changes. So just know that going in. I know the cruise lines, they really try and make every single destination that they advertise, but things happen sometimes. Now, once you are in port, note the ship's all aboard time, and understand that the ship really does mean that. The ship leaves people behind often. In fact, one of my favorite activities on board is watching pier runners make it back to the ship at the very last minute. It is a lot of fun. I highly recommend finding a place on deck and watching that. The ship time and the local time could also be different depending on your itinerary, so it's key as a first-time cruiser to understand what time you need to be back to the ship and what time it is on the ship. Booking an excursion through the ship is a way to avoid all this mess, as official excursions that are late are not subject to being left behind. So speaking of excursions, you can book through the ship, but oftentimes you can save money and have a more quality excursion by booking locally. I've done this many times through booking engines like a Viator online, and love the folks that I've met. They just love to show off their island or their city in the best light, and I just love putting money into local hands as much as possible. While in port, most places you're sailing in the Caribbean are going to accept dollars, but if you want to exchange money, use a no-fee debit card like one from Charles Schwab that waives ATM fees and foreign exchange fees. Most places also take credit cards, and if they do, ensure you're using a card with no foreign transaction fees. I always pay in local currency and not US dollars with your card, because if you do that exchange from the local currency to the US dollar on your card, you're going to be hit with a lot of extra fees and a really bad exchange rate. In your stateroom, charging electronics is important in this day and age. Unfortunately, there are not a lot of plugs in most cruise staterooms, so I bring a foreign adapter with me to use it on the plug in the room that's meant for the international guests, and I usually bring an extended plug that doesn't have a surge protector on it, as most ships don't allow that. That gives me a few extra plugs for all my fancy electronics to film all this lovely content for you. The ship will have elevators to use, of course, which get quite busy at peak times. This is something that just happens every cruise. I recommend stairs if you can handle them, as it is a great way to avoid the rush and to get that extra exercise. These ships are 18 or 19 decks tall in some cases, so just know that an elevator is pretty crucial for your vacation. Some newer ships are testing out destination elevators that move people in a more organized fashion. I'm excited to try this out on Utopia of the Seas this week, so look for that content on the channel. Finally, most ships have a casino. Notably, Disney does not have a casino on board. Know that these casinos are similar to land-based ones, and they have their own separate loyalty programs that you can earn free cruises for your play, and of course all the monetary winnings too that come along with it if Lady Luck is on your side. Many ships are offering smoke-free gaming rooms as well, which I love, and that's great since the casino is the only room on most ships that you can still smoke in. The notable exception here are some ships' cigar bars that still do exist. Overall, I hope that this video has helped you learn a few things about your first cruise and helped you save some time and money in the process. As always, if you have any questions, leave a comment below, and if you're looking to book a cruise vacation, you can reach out to us at Mark Jackson at jacksonjetsetting.com for our more personalized assistance. Thanks again for watching, and have a great cruise!